welcome to my kitchen. It's Saturday morning and it's time to bake. Now, Bake Off has gripped the nation yet again, as it does every year. Now, I heard a little sort of whisper that next week's show they're going to be doing sticky toffee pudding. I might be wrong, but I think it is. So I thought, what better recipe to show you than my version of sticky toffee pudding, shot right here in the home of sticky toffee pudding, the Lake District. It's where it all began. Now, I've been lucky enough to actually go to Cartmel Sticky Toffee Pudding's Central Bakery, and I've seen how they've made it. I know Jean, the lady who owns the company, and I had the pleasure of filming with her, which was great. But times have changed, things have moved on. I've learnt new things, and I thought, right, how can I make an amazing sticky toffee pudding and take it from there right up to there with just a few little touches, an ingredient you might not have come across before, but I tell you what, it makes all the difference. Once that wonderful sticky toffee pudding's in the oven, we're gonna make homemade hobnobs. Yes, you heard it, hobnobs. Now, as a development chef in my professional career, I've developed new products for various companies, and one of them for Westmoreland Services, so T-Bay and Gloucester, was a giant homemade hobnob. And I developed it for those guys, and they're still selling it every day, tons of them. So I thought I'll show you guys how to make it, okay? So let's get started with sticky toffee pudding first. Right, it starts with dates, okay? So chopped dates is what gives it the richness, it gives it the moisture, and we need to get them soaked in boiling water first. Now, it's important with your dates that you chop them all up into little pieces, because in a sticky toffee pudding, it's not a date pudding, so you don't put whole dates in it. We're using the toffee, sorry, we're not using the toffee, we're using the dates to make that rich, unctuous, moist, toffee flavored sponge, okay? So I've chopped all my dates up, and then we're gonna soak them in boiling water. So I'll just grab some water. You want 175 mils for my recipe. Now, Carlos, a man who is not from the UK, but has worked in hospitality, you must have served a lot of sticky toffee puddings in your time, have you not?
I think I ate more than I served, but yeah.
Do you like a sticky toffee pudding, do you?
Love it.
Do you? Is it your favourite?
It's one of my favourite puddings here, yeah.
Finally, we're making something that Carlos has heard of. He said to me the other day, he says, every time you ask me if I've heard of this or I've made that, I was like, the answer's no. But today, the answer is yes. Okay, so just let those, because the dates are dry, they just want to suck up all that boiling water. And now, if you like a bit of coffee in there as well, that's not a bad thing. You could just add, just a hint would be nice, but not a lot, okay? But it's up to you. So we're just gonna let those sit and drink that water and just soften, okay? Right, let's get my bowl. Now, if you have any questions at all about this recipe or any of other questions about anything that I do on the show, please post it in the comments below. I am there to help you in your kitchen. If you have a real problem that you need just a little bit of help with, post it in there and I will help you, okay? So, softened butter. Now, for me, it's always salted butter when you are baking something like this, okay? Because the salt will bring out the flavour of the toffee, okay? So, I've got soft brown sugar and butter, room temperature, and then I'm just gonna use the back of my spoon and just mix those together. Now, you could put these in the mixer if you wanted to, but I'm just gonna do that, and then, oh, I am making a mess today. So do you make sticky toffee pudding at home, Carlos?
No, I never tried.
No, you've never baked it?
No.
But you've eaten a few?
I never baked anything my whole life. Then again, this is gonna be first one again.
Yeah, well, maybe you should be baking this for Mrs. Carlos. Don't you think?
I'll try on Monday.
I should keep saying this. Hopefully Mrs. Carlos isn't watching, 'cause she'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get sticky toffee pudding this weekend. Easy to make. Okay, so just using the back of my spoon and just really work it. And to know when this is done, you stop hearing the scratching noise. You kind of hear this scratching of the sugar and the butter. Once it stops, that means you kind of know that the two have blended together. And it's all about amalgamating the butter and the sugar together to get that lovely texture, which then allows us to incorporate the eggs, okay? So there is a bit of science towards baking. It's not all just chuck it in and see what happens, all right? Okay, so going with our eggs and our eggs. So, one egg at a time, okay? Because it's a completely different texture. It needs a little bit of help to incorporate, okay? So, if you put 2 in, it just kind of all swims around in the bowl. So you've got to just kind of work 1 in, and that'll loosen out the texture, and then we'll work the next one in, okay? Right, so once you've incorporated the first egg, we've kind of got a looser texture now, so we can easily incorporate the final egg. Now, there is this ongoing debate in Cumbria and the Lake District as to where sticky toffee pudding originated. Now, some people say it's in Cartmel with Cartmel sticky toffee pudding. Others say it is started at the Shower Bay Hotel. Now, I'm not an authority on it, and I don't know the answer as to where it first originated from. All I do know is it's blooming delicious, and it's a massive family favourite in our house. And I would say in many of the hotels and restaurants over the years that I've worked with or worked in, sticky toffee pudding is an absolute British classic that everyone loves. And it seems to be the one pudding everyone makes a beeline for when they visit the Lake District. So, if you can't get to the Lake District, let sticky toffee pudding come to you, all right? So now I've got my 2 eggs in there, okay? Black treacle. Now this is going to give a slight sweetness, but also get a bit of balance in the pudding. Now the one thing you do need to remember to do is a hot spoon. So, a bit of hot water over my spoon will allow me to easily get the treacle out. So I'm just putting some boiling water over it, and then with your black treacle, oh, I love treacle. Look at that, it's mesmerising. Oh, love it. Love it. It's like a molasses. If you can't get black treacle, go for molasses, or use a really dark brown sugar instead of demerara. So, in we go. Now, the treacle, just give it a little mix, get things moving in there, get it diluted into there. Okay, just stir that treacle in so it just takes the mixture down a tone in that dark brown colour. Now, vanilla, I actually forgot to add it. In the recipe I've said add it to the dates. You can add it, it doesn't matter, you can add it into the dates, you can add it into the cake mixture. As long as it goes in, I don't think it really matters. Okay, so I've used a wooden spoon to beat that together. Now, I'm just going to use a metal spoon. And now, I've got my self-raising flour and my bicarb. I'm just going to mix those two together, just so that they're incorporated. The bicarb's there just for a little bit of a lift, just to help the eggs lift the pudding. Okay, so we'll put half of the flour in there, and we'll give that a quick mix. It's these little touches like this that just help make this a great sticky toffee pudding. Some people will just chuck everything all in at once, but I find it helps just to do this in 2 stages. Now, if you want the recipe for this sticky toffee pudding, scan the QR code below, okay? And that will take you straight to masterclass.co, which is our website. So Masterclass sponsor this show, and I work with them and have worked with them for quite a few years now. Love their kitchen equipment. Got a new piece to show you in a minute. It's my favourite. Right, half the milk. Okay, so it's 100 mils of milk, so 50 goes in, and then we're just going to mix that together, okay? There, that'll do. Now, in with the last of our flour. My kids are going to be so pleased when they come home from school today to find sticky toffee pudding. Oh, I am going to be awesome dad today. They're going to love it. Right. Unless Carlos has eaten it all, that is, which is a distinct possibility. What you made today? Nothing. Right, so in with the flour. In with flour. There we go. Right, now let's look at our dates. They are swollen up, okay? They've absorbed lots of the water. Not all of it, but most of it. So I'm just going to lift it out and pop it in. It's important that you don't put all the water in as well, because otherwise the pudding is just going to be too loose, too wet, and it won't rise, okay? Doesn't matter a little bit, but just, there we go. Right, oh, vanilla smells good. Now, in with our dates, okay? And because they've soaked and they're soft, they'll kind of dissolve into the pudding, all right? See all those sticky toffee puddings you've served over the years, Carlos? This is what went into them. Right, okay, let's talk about a new product, okay? Now, these are awesome. So these are the new Masterclass stainless steel storage boxes, okay? Now, I've been playing around with these for about 6 months because I've been creating recipes with them, I've been testing them out. The great thing about these is you can bake your pudding or whatever you want in them, and you can pop it into the freezer. You can pop the whole thing into the microwave if you want, which is awesome, okay? And you've got little sizes. Now, this is perfect for our family for sticky toffee pudding, but this one, we're going to make an extra bit and we're going to send that down to mother and father-in-law so they get it as well. So we do like to try and spoil them, since they look after us. So in with our sticky toffee pudding into a decent sized tin. There we go. And then the extra bit I'm going to pop into this little kind of 1/2 portion. It's probably 2 portions for mother and father-in-law. It is probably 1 portion for Peter or Carlos, I would say, wouldn't you? Yeah? But great way to use up any extras. You know, sometimes if your tin's a slightly different size to mine, that's okay, because we've got the perfect way to use it. And even if you're not sending it to someone else, there's 2 little portions there of sticky toffee pudding that, once baked and sauced, can go straight into the freezer. And then the beauty of it is, once it's all, you just put it straight in the microwave from the freezer. And then into the oven. Brilliant. Really, really great. I think the thing with leftovers is, there's always been that thing where I can warm it up, but I can't grill it, because I need to put it in the microwave and then into the oven, whereas this can just go straight into the microwave, warm the centre, and then into the oven. Brilliant. Right, okay, so that's our sticky toffee pudding. I'm just going to wipe this edge here. Okay, now, these are going to go into the oven. And then when they come out of the oven, I'm going to put the sauce straight onto the top. And then we can just serve it as is, or we can cool it down into the fridge and then just warm it up when we need it. But these into the oven. Right, so while they are baking, we need to make our sticky toffee sauce. Now, this bit of the recipe, you can use this for all sorts of stuff. There is nothing nicer in the world than vanilla ice cream and sticky toffee sauce. I promise you. It is just an amazing, amazing sauce to have in a jar, in the fridge, whenever you need it. It can go, you can use it for cakes, you can use it with ice cream, obviously on your puddings. Brilliant. You can even add it to a bit of milkshake with some chocolate and have chocolate sticky toffee chocolate milkshakes. How awesome does that sound? If my daughter heard that, she'd be like, Dad, 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 I need that in my life. But luckily, she's at school. Right, so, are you more about the sauce or the pudding?
Both.
See, for me, it's all about the sauce. The sauce is what, love a bit of sticky toffee pudding sauce.
You can have one without the other one.
You can have it with ice cream.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got demerara sugar and salted butter, okay, into the pan. So these big non-stick frying pans, these have got an amazing non-stick coating on it, so they're perfect for this job. Okay, and we're going to get on to the bit that makes this recipe really different in a minute. Now, I've got my double cream ready, okay? So you need double cream for this or whipping cream, it's entirely up to you. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start to warm this pan up, use the back of the spoon, and just get that butter and sugar warmed up and melting ready, okay? And it's a really simple sauce, to be honest, because it is very much, I'm gonna just put about half of that in there, okay? And then we'll just mix that together. Now, this isn't in the recipe, but this is a bit of a preference of mine, okay? I like my sticky toffee pudding sauce just a little bit darker, okay? So I'm just gonna add a teaspoon of treacle in there. Now, personal preference, if you're watching this show, you get the extra little tip. If you're just reading the recipe, you didn't get it. All right, so that tiny little bit of black treacle in there just kind of gives it a bit more depth. And on that subject of depth, this is my little secret weapon. Now, I learnt this in San Francisco, cooking with the Culinary Institute of America, which sounds really grand and amazing, and it was a wonderful experience. But I tried miso caramel. Have you had miso before? So miso is like fermented soybean, okay? And it's like Marmite, the equivalent, like really salty, really savoury. It is how they would deliver umami, that savoury hit of flavour, okay? So, this is the red bean paste, okay? So what I am going to do before we get started is I am going to fish out my spoon because it keeps falling into my pan, all right? So very carefully remove that. Oh, it was a little bit warm. Carlos is laughing because it burnt me. Evil man. Right, okay, so look, that sauce is nearly good. Right, so yeah, miso. So I'm using the red miso paste. I prefer this. There's also the white one as well. It's just savoury and it's fermented, so it's got more flavour. So if you like salted caramel, it's like that, but it's got even more depth of flavour. It is really, really good. And honestly, in the recipe, I've said put 2 teaspoons in. What I would suggest if you've never had this before, put 1 in, stir it, and then taste it. If you like it, add the second one in, okay? But a lot of people sort of say, oh, I love salted caramel, but sometimes it's just a little bit too salty. Some people just like a little bit. So, I know how awesome it is, so I'm going straight in with 2 teaspoons, hello Pip, of soya bean paste in there. Okay? You had this before? You've not tried it, have you?
Nope.
I bet you have, and you just didn't know. I sneak miso into all sorts of stuff.
Probably.
Because it's a great ingredient to have in the fridge and add to things. And, you know, if you just want that oomph of savoury hit, you know, you can add a little bit to a soup, is really nice. So if you're doing like a butternut squash, now it's looking to autumn, you want a really nice, thick, velvety butternut squash soup, you know, just like a big hug in a bowl. Add a bit of miso to it, and it just brings the savouriness out in it, because it can be quite sweet butternut squash. Right, so you can see we're really getting down now. The sugar has dissolved. Okay, now I've got the last of my cream here. So Carlos is probably going to cut right into this, and we'll just see the last of that cream going in. And that just gives it that extra little bit of I don't have a word for it. It's just a loveliness and delicious. And that's it. That is our caramel sauce. Once it's up to temperature and the sugar has dissolved, because we're using demerara sugar, it's quite granulated. So you really do need to boil it to get the granular melt down. And then with the salted butter, the miso paste and the double cream, just means now we've got the most amazing caramel sauce that's got depth of flavour. It's not just sweet and buttery and creamy, it's got depth. I'll try a bit. It's hot. But you'll like it. Let that cool down. Here you go. Try that. I'm going to try it too, just to make sure that it's where we need it to be. And this is the point about cooking, is taste things so that you know it's right before it goes on the table. All right? What do you think?
Oh, wow.
Different, isn't it?
Yeah, I love the kick of the, what you mentioned.
The miso.
Yeah, the saltiness.
It's quite different, isn't it?
But
so
it's not really punchy as if you put like a salty caramel, but it's nice, that hint.
I think what it's got is, you know when you taste wine and they go, oh, it's got legs. As you taste it, it's still there. So what you've done is you've created a caramel sauce that's got real depth, and it lingers, and the miso brings out the sweetness, and it brings out that saltiness and makes it, that caramelized flavor really spark and really shine and come out. So that sweet date sticky toffee cake, and then we've got this. And if you want it, if you really like it, add a little bit more miso to it. You could add a touch of salt if you want, but what you've got is an amazing sauce. So as soon as that comes out of the oven, I'm gonna serve it up with a lovely sticky toffee pudding. But for me, the dilemma is custard or ice cream.
Ice cream.
Ice cream all the way. I'm ice cream all the way, but my wife's family are custard. And I'm like, not sure about that. So I'm putting it out there, ice cream or custard, you decide. Right, sticky toffee puddings are baked. There we go. Now, on with our sauce. Now, while it's warm, if you're going to serve all this up straight away, you know, I could serve it straight away in this stainless steel container. But more importantly, I can also freeze this, chill it down, microwave it later on. I'm going to send this little one over to the mother and father-in-law, which is great, but there you go. Take your miso caramel sauce. Oh, look at that, Carlos. You're loving this, aren't you? Yeah. Oh, I told you it's all about the sauce. Make sure the sauce engulfs it all, completely covers the pudding, and then I'm going to do the same with this little one here. Cover it all over. Not only does it make it delicious, but it also seals it up so that it stays super fresh. Okay, and that is ready to serve up. Ice cream for me, maybe custard, entirely up to you. But I'm going to take this one, I'm going to seal this one up, and I'm going to deliver that and maintain my position as #1 son-in-law. And we'll pop that down there, and they can pop that in the freezer or the fridge, and it's ready to go. Now this one is going to be served up with my family with ice cream. Now, if you want the recipe for this, scan the QR code along the bottom, or go to masterclass.co and you'll find the recipe there. I'm going to move this to one side, and we are going to get on with my famous giant hobnobs. Okay, so hobnobs in the UK are like an institutional biscuit from McVitie's. They're absolutely delicious. Some people will call them like oaty biscuits, and basically they're a very, very simple biscuit. Okay, so it starts off with our oats. Now we're 250 grams of oats, and then we're 250 grams of demerara sugar, okay, and then we're 250 grams and a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, okay. So that is our dry ingredients. So we're going to blend all these together. Now, if you wanted to make them particularly Christmassy or something like that, once you've nailed this recipe, you can play around with the flavors. Like you could add some mixed spice, some nutmeg, some ginger. You can kind of do what you like, really. But we're going to stick with the hardcore, basic, delicious, oaty hobnobby type biscuit. But then we're going to dip them in serious 70% dark chocolate to make them amazing. All right? So that's our dry ingredients there. We'll put that to one side. Okay, so I'm going to put my 250 grams of butter. So this recipe's 250 grams is the theme. 250 butter, 250 flour, 250 oats, 250 sugar. So it's dead easy to remember, or 8 ounces if you're playing in old money. a block of butter, so that can go straight in there. Now, we are going to use a little bit of hot water, but I'm actually going to do, we're going to add our golden syrup and we're going to add our hot water, and I'm going to use the hot water to get my spoon warm, all right? So I'm pouring a little bit of boiling water over my spoon so that my golden syrup just slides straight off there. Right, so we are 1 full tablespoon. So I'm going to do a good, delicious one, yeah, like that, a decent one. It's quite a generous one, that one. And then 2 tablespoons of hot water, okay? So 1, 2, and they're not quite tablespoons, these. So let's crank the heat up on that and just get that melted down really quick. All right, won't take long. So let's get ready. So I'm going to put my tray there. Now I'm using the Masterclass. This is smart ceramic, okay, so super non-stick, ceramic coating, it just doesn't stick. They're so reliable, these trays, I love them. If you want to get your own, go to cookserveandenjoy.com, you'll find it there, all right? Okay, so let's get this melted. So it's really quick. Now, when I created this recipe, it was created with like commerciality in mind, so you can actually make these rolled out into biscuits and then whack them in the freezer. So and then just take out the biscuit, like the puck or the portion of biscuit dough, and bake them from frozen. So they're a really good recipe to have in your arsenal should you need it. So you can see that butter and golden syrup is melted already, so super quick. All right, are we all right here, Carlos? There we go. Luckily, I have a little screen over there so I can see what Carlos sees. So if he's going to tell me off for not putting something in the right place so you guys can see it. If I'm clever, I can see it before he does, but not always. Right, in with our butter, golden syrup and water. All right. So this is super easy. Really, really simple recipe, this, and I think the simple ones are the best. So just start stirring it together, and that's it. All right. In fact, to be honest, there couldn't be a simpler recipe for biscuits, really. Even you, Carlos, could make these, couldn't you? Look at that.
Even me.
You and your little mini-me could make these, couldn't you? I reckon she'd like these. Thomas and Poppy, my two, love this recipe. All right, so if I just turn this out, all right, it's cooled down quite quickly. It's very sort of quick to get it. And then I'm just going to use my hands to compress the dough, like so, all right? And then, now this makes 12 big uns, all right? Now, if you want to make 16, 24 smaller ones, whatever you want, really. But I'm going to go with sort of about, what would we say that is, Carlos? Golf ball?
Yeah.
Golf ball size. I'm going for golf ball. All right? I want decent ones. If I'm going to make homemade hobnobs, I'm going to make big uns. All right? So there we go. Golf ball size we're going with. And whatever dough is left over, we're going to keep it in the fridge. And then we can just make some more whenever we want. All right? And you can freeze them like this. All right? Which is great. Because it means you've just got them then. Somebody comes around to say hello. Comes around for a cuppa. You can just whip them out of the freezer. Bang them in the oven. And they're like, oh, how thoughtful. You've made fresh biscuits. All right? So, because it's warm and the butter as well, they're quite easy to shape, really. And if you really want them accurately precise, you could weigh them out and make sure that every portion is the same. But they will spread a little, not masses, so you want to make sure that you do squash them down like that. So once they are portioned, yeah, we're just going to spread them a little bit, like so. So I'm going to fit 6 on this tray. I'm not going to be brave, and I'm not going to put any more on. I'm going to just do another tray if I need to. Right. So they look about right to me. These will bake at 170 degrees, all right? Now, if you want them soft and chewy, you bake them for slightly less time. If you want them slightly crispier, you bake them for longer. But just remember, once they're baked and cooled, we're going to dip them in 70% dark chocolate. So you get that bitterness, you get that sweetness. It's the perfect combination. Right, biscuits are baked and cooled. When they cool down, they're quite firm, all right? So it's really important that you do let them fully cool down before you try to coat them in chocolate, all right? So I've done 2 batches because we've got plenty of people to eat them this weekend, so I'm not too worried about that. Now, dark chocolate, for me, it is always dark because these are sweet, and that sort of bitterness that you get from a dark chocolate really makes it for me. If you don't like dark chocolate and you want milk chocolate, that's fine. But for me, this is a 53% dark chocolate from Venezuela, which is absolutely delicious. Me and Carlos have just tested it, haven't we? It's a good one. So a little tip for you to make chocolate nicer and to sort of almost an easy way of tempering chocolate so that when it cools again, it's got a nice sort of shine and it's got a bit of a snap to it, is melt half your chocolate and then take the remaining chocolate and add it in when it's melted and use the residual heat from the melted chocolate, and it will then sort of bring the temperatures into balance, okay? So the unmelted chocolate going into the melted chocolate will drop the temperature of it really quickly, which is kind of what tempering's doing. It's about controlling the temperature and allowing the chocolate not to get too hot. So give it a little stir. The residual heat will just allow the chocolates to blend together, all right? So that is a really sort of quick, cheap way of tempering chocolate. So particularly if you're into your cake decorating and things like that. But you can see there, it is almost melted. And it is like, if you really like chocolate and you want to kind of get into this chocolate is, because it's 53%, it's not the standard 70%. So it's still pretty dark and full of flavour. It's actually quite fruity, don't you think, Carlos? When you try it and you actually sit and think about the chocolate you're tasting, it's got a fruitiness to it. And I absolutely love that chocolate, and we use it all the time now in this kitchen, and my kids know where it is in the cupboard and they're constantly raiding it. So anyway, I digress. So now my chocolate is melted, so I'm going to bring my tray in, all right? And I've got a little bit of parchment paper on here. I'm only putting this on so that the biscuits don't stick to the chocolate, okay? So if I just pop that about there, Carlos, is that all right? Work for you? Good, I like to keep you happy. So take your biscuit, dunk half of it, all right? And then if you don't get the whole depth, see, I quite like this biscuit to be half chocolate and half biscuit, like that. And then just pop them on the baking tray there. So if I do that now, you can kind of see everything that's going on. How good does that look? And just that really good, solid coating of dark chocolate. And it does 2 things. One, it gives you something to hold on to that's not melted while you eat it. And then it gives you that contrast of the lovely oaty biscuit and then that dark chocolate. It's just the best. All right? What do you think of these, Carlos? You give one of these a go.
Always.
I thought you might.
I never say no to food.
I feel like you're going to be sat at the desk editing nicely with a biscuit in one hand and a mouse in the other hand.
Keep me quiet.
Yeah. I know a little boy who'll be home very soon who's going to want to try these. So just pour the chocolate on and just let it drain away. Let the excess naturally drip off and then just pop it on there. Now, if you pop these in the fridge, they'll cool really quickly. Now, if you leave them out and to cool at a natural temperature, you'll get the shine. Now, it's entirely up to you. Entirely up to you. But there you go. That is how to make my homemade hobnobs. dipped in dark chocolate. Now, please try these, they're amazing. However, I've decided that if you don't want to make these and you can't really be bothered, I'm prepared to make a dozen of these and post them out to somebody. So what I ask you to do is like and share this video with all your friends, and I am randomly going to pick somebody who has liked and shared in the UK, and I am going to bake you a personal box of a dozen of these and post them out to you. So if that's something you fancy, like and share this video, and I will be sending them out to you very soon. Now, if you want the recipe, scan the QR code on the bottom, or go to masterclass.co website and you will find it there for the hobnobs and for the sticky toffee pudding. But I hope you have an amazing weekend. Please have a go at baking these. They are amazing, I promise you. I'm going to be very popular when I go into the house with these. But thank you very much, and I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you on the next episode.